Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Bovin. Man, it's the end of the week for us, the last show of the night, or the week, and I'm excited, man. Next week, we're covering Michigan, so we're kind of getting a little jump started into Michigan already by having a guest from Michigan on tonight. So I'm excited about that, excited to get him on and talk to him. Interesting of how we've met, kind of. Let's leave it at that. How we met, kind of. So it's kind of fun. Interesting how to talk about that. Anyways, if this is your first time tuning into the show, thank you and welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. Like I said, it is episode 71. It's Wednesday, May 22nd. We do a live show Monday through Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Each week we cover a new state. This week was Massachusetts, but the guest that we had lined up for tonight, some things fell through, so we had to get that fixed. And I asked John to come on tonight, and he said, heck yeah, man. So I'm excited to get him on. We'll get to him here in a second. I do ask, though, as the listener and the audience out there, to put your core in the slot machine. And what I mean by that is to help share the show. We can't help spread the word about hunting. And like I said, constantly, I feel like hunting is a dying sport, a dying lifestyle. And helping sharing the show means a lot to us, to help get our word out there and helping grow hunting in general, because that's ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we want. So everyone that is out there, that's listening, that has been sharing the show, much love to you guys. Thank you, and thank you for the support. I do like to say we are a part of the pro staff with Gilly Puck. If you use the code GP10, GP10, you can get 10% discount off their stuff. And with that being said, I'd like to run a quick little ad for them. Like I said, use the code GP10, GP10, and you get 10% discount off their stuff. Also, go ahead and over to MAGNUS BROADHEADS. We are not sponsored in any way connected with them, but I just love their product, and I always try to promote them as best I can. But with that being said, let's get into tonight's show. It's episode 71. Like I said, it's Wednesday, so it's the last live show of the week for us. We are taking Memorial Day, so this upcoming Monday, off due to it being Memorial Day, so in honor with everyone there. So we were taking that day off and doing shows next week, Tuesday through Thursday. So just kind of a little heads up with that point. But enough with my mumbo jumbo intro, boring stuff like I usually do. Let's give a round of applause to John. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect, man. Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. I did like to point out that the producer is not here yet. He will be on a little later to help run the show. But anyways, let's get into you, John. Can you give a little background about yourself, brother?
Yeah, man. Born and raised here in Michigan. Lived in New York, Kansas for a little bit. Joined the Army. Did 10 years in the Army. Got out and had no idea what I wanted to do once I got out. Then one day I picked up a bow and was able to pull it back, tried out hunting, and dude, that's all I do now. I bow hunt pretty much anything I can. So
bow hunting, I love it, man. I only shoot a bow, man. Shooting a gun, first off, I do like to point out here, someone made a comment here, outdoors and more with a Squatch. Nitro, my man.
Yeah, that's my buddy Squatch, man. He's a good dude.
But yeah, shooting a bow, man, I just love it. It's amazing. We were talking about this before the show. You can't beat it, man. It's the best feeling in the world. And I'll never hunt with a gun. The day I put down my bow is the day I physically can't draw back a bow.
Exactly. I mean, I used to shoot guns all the time. and you go home, you grab your range pad, grab the ammo, go find a spot, wait in line, go shoot. It was fun. But dude, now I can just pick up my bow, go in the backyard, lob some arrows 20, 30 yards, and just do that all day, man. Like
Yeah.
it's therapeutic, it's relaxing. My daughter's involved. My son's still a little bit too young, but I mean, my oldest daughter will be 12 soon. Man, that girl is killer with a bow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, I got a 4-year-old daughter, and my son just turned 1 a couple months ago, and I can't wait till they pick up their bow for the first time. And it's awesome to hear though that your daughter is killing it out there with a bow, man.
Oh, dude. So I got her a Ember, or the Elite Ember,
Okay.
and she loves it. And dude, that thing's from like, I think it's 14 pounds all the way to 60 pounds. And like, I mean, the draw length is completely adjustable from like, I think it's like 17 to like 30 inch. Like the bows, that thing will last a person forever.
Yeah.
And so she shoots that. My other daughter, she just turned 7. She has a Bear bow, like the Bear brand, and it's just a youth bow. She shoots that. And yeah, my son, he just turned 5, and he likes to lay in rocks and play in the dirt. So
Yeah,
eventually he'll pick one up.
I always tell people that are new to hunting or new to bow hunting or archery itself is to your first bow. I strongly believe you should pick up a Bear bow.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
they're so smooth, they're so reliable, and it doesn't break the bank. And like my first bow was a Martin Jaguar. Then I went
Okay.
and got a Bear BR33, used that for a long time. And then I got the Matthews Verdicts, and now I got my new bow now, the Matthews Phase 4. But man, I just love that Bear bow, man. It was just so freaking smooth.
Dude, your first bow, I mean, it could be the worst bow ever. I think I bought mine for like $200 off Craigslist. It was just beat up. But dude, pulling it back, you're like, man, this is awesome. And it was a Bear. It was a Bear Lights Out was the brand
Okay.
or the model. And dude, I don't know what it is with those Bears, man. You pick up your first one, and it's like, you know, Uncle Ted would say, man, it's the spirit within, dude. Fred Bear's with you, and you pull that back, and you're hunting, man.
I know every time I went out in the woods, I think I had that bow for I think 2 to 3 years, and every time I had that going out in the woods, I just thought Fred Bear was walking right along with me, in and
Oh,
out of
dude,
the woods and
for
sitting in the
sure.
woods with me.
Hell yeah.
And my dad's favorite song was I believe it was called "Fred Bear" by Ted Nugent.
Yeah. Yep.
That I constantly thought of that song all the time, and we play that song almost every time we have a bonfire.
Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah, I think bear archery, especially here in the state of Michigan, the roots and the history along with it,
Oh
it's
yeah.
something special and unique. And honestly, and don't get me wrong, shooting a bear product bow, I'm not against. And why am I shooting a Matthews bow if I'm such in love with bear products? I just that's where I'm at with my archery is it to me I like it the most. But you like I said, you just can't go wrong with a bear bow.
No, you really can't. I
And
had mine for a while. I don't have it anymore. I've upgraded. I'm shooting elites now, and those things are just so nice, man.
mhm. And I did forget to say, thank you for your service though, brother.
Dude, hey, no problem. Thank you, man. I mean, like, from what I've done, and you as a cop, I mean, dude, I couldn't do your job stateside. You know, I joined the army, realizing, going into combat and war, and you're expected to see that type of stuff. Where stateside, man, like what you had to see, that's just no one should have to see that stuff.
No, it's stuff that the human brain, you're mentally not you shouldn't be seeing, and that's stuff that and I think law enforcement in general to kinda go down this little rabbit hole, it nobody knows really what it goes into what you're expected to see because at the end of the day, you don't know what to prepare for because it's just anything can fucking happen.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And the stuff that you see, you to tell someone that's not in the military side of it or the law enforcement side of it, that's just kind of I guess civilian is the word we don't want to use here.
Yeah.
That it's the stuff you only see in movies. So when you see that stuff in horror movies, that's what you're seeing as a cop, and it's stuff that you really have to sink in. And it's one thing seeing it in a movie, it's one, and then seeing it in real life, and then it sticks with you forever, and it eats away at you.
Exactly. In the movie, the character gets to go home and then wash it all away. Where civilian, in real world, it's not that easy.
No, it does eat you away, and
Oh, dude,
I'm not
for
gonna
sure.
lie, it still eats at me sometimes, and I still have. I'm not ashamed of saying, if I get nightmares from the stuff that I've seen, and no one should see their kid die and have to go tell their parents that their kid's dead. So, yeah.
Oh, for sure, man, for sure.
Anyways, enough. Let's talk
back
about
to bow hunting here. Yeah,
exactly. So, how long did I miss? How long you've been in the hunting world?
Man, I've been in it probably 5 or 6 years, really. I mean, I grew up here. My dad, everyone's like, oh yeah, my dad taught me how to hunt. All of this. My dad was the #1 unethical hunter. So everything I learned was what not to do later on in life. But once I joined the Army, I did that. Wasn't really able to hunt. Got out, and I just really wanted to focus my time and energy into something. So I chose hunting, and then I started learning, within the past 5, 6 years, that I could take my skills of making target packets in the Army, going after terrorists and stuff. Now I can take that and build a target packet for a specific deer. And, oh, I got this nice buck on my trail camera. Start getting a target packet, getting a good pattern for him. Just doing all of that, getting really into it. Yeah, that's when I really started getting into bow hunting and figuring out all the, the tactical side of it, if you would.
Yeah. And let's talk about your archery practice routine, setup, stuff like that, and we can get into the hunting stuff. What are you doing in archery as a practice run through the off season? What are you doing in that time?
I'm shooting as much as I can. I mean, if it's a couple arrows a day, or if I can sling 100 on a weekend, I'm in the backyard shooting. I hunt the state game area around here, so you're not taking really far shots, especially if you're hunting in the hardwoods. So all my shots are usually between probably 20 and 40 yards, and I'm taking those shots standing, kneeling, sitting. I hunt out of a saddle, and I have it set up in the back where I can actually wear my saddle and shoot probably 25 yards, just hanging from a little platform. So it's constant shooting from different scenarios, getting uncomfortable while shooting. That way, if I have to take a shot at this trophy whitetail in the woods where I'm leaning around a tree or something, I feel comfortable making that shot.
Yeah, practicing in the uncomfortable situations, be comfortable in the uncomfortable is kind of like the motto that I lived by. And my dad
embrace the suck.
Yeah, there we go. Embrace the suck. Yeah, that's always said in the police academy. Embrace the suck and suck it the fuck up and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And my practice routine would be I would kind of do some just to like warm up shots, and then I do some like push ups or jumping jacks just to get my heartbeat going, and then instantly pick up my bow and shoot.
Oh,
And then
high
kind of just
stress
do
shot.
those.
Love
Exactly. Get in those moments, because when that moment comes, when you're out there in the woods, you can go from just sitting there calm, quiet, peaceful, your heart's just beating. Then you see that one buck that just your heart is just pounding like it's out of your chest.
Dude, yep.
You gotta know how to focus and dial in at that moment. Otherwise, in archery, if you don't know how to prepare yourself in that moment, then you're not going to be successful. So prepare for those hard moments.
Exactly. I mean, when you're pulling back and you're trying to line up your sights through the peep sight, and it's just like spinning like this, man, you're hoping for the best at that point. But if you can train to get that heart rate up, get after it. I got a 300-pound tire in the back. I'll flip a couple times, take a couple shots, and yeah, if you can control your heart rate, keep your sight picture, just focus on the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals. If you can do that while your heart rate's at an elevated rate, you'll be golden, man.
I think one thing to point out here is in archery, yes, we make it sound like it's this hard thing, but reality, it's really not if you just put in the time and practice. And I remember when I was young, I thought it was like, all right, I gotta make sure I hold it freaking still and squeeze the crap out of that bow handle.
Oh yeah.
And I gotta make sure that pin it doesn't move. It's gotta sit right there, otherwise I'm gonna miss. No, it's okay for it to kind of float around as long as you get in that nice little, I don't know how big you'd want to call it, but if you just keep your bow kind of floating right there in that spot, that's money. That's what's going to happen. Don't force anything. Don't try and death grip your grip there. Honestly, when you're holding a bow, you're really only supposed to hold it in that groove of your index finger and your thumb.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's it.
Yep.
The other four fingers are just kind of along for the ride.
Oh, absolutely. And just like shooting fundamentals anyways. I mean, I you got to anchor back. Okay, how's my breathing? Okay, calm down a little bit. All right, get your good sight picture. I mean, just if you can remember all those fundamentals, you're going to be golden. And that's shooting bow, shooting gun. I mean, I taken what I learned in sniper school and transferring it over to my bow, and it's working pretty well for me.
Well, that's awesome, man. And I I do like to point out though another thing. You see a lot of people rush the shot. Like for instance, there's a lot of times I've noticed in the last couple years where I've had to I've had a deer running across where it's like, oh, I need to get this deer. This is the one I've been after, and I'll draw back, and next thing I know, within seconds, bam, I'm releasing my arrow. You might hear those stories, and I'm only saying this to maybe newcomers to archery. You might hear those stories where they drew back and they shot instantly. Those
Oh yeah.
people, they've put in the time and practice, so they're comfortable doing that. I'm comfortable doing it. I don't like to do it, but if I feel quote unquote rushed taking a shot, I'm not going to go force a shot though. Don't get me wrong and put anything wrong. But there's been a couple times where I feel like, all right, I got to draw back and I got to put right there and gone. It
Oh
just
yeah.
takes time and practice. And like I said, at the end of the day, you just put in the time and practice.
That's it. I mean, repetitions. Go out there, shoot the bow. I mean, it's not going to hurt anything, right? Go out there, shoot it. Just shoot the piss out of it, man. Have fun doing it. Go out there with your buddies. I'll shoot with my daughter, and we'll see who can get close to the bullseye. And dude, I'll be honest, man. There's a few times where she's got me on it. I'm like, man, like, all right, I'll give it to you. You're 10. You're 10, 11 years old. That's cool. But deep in my mind, I'm like, man, she's shooting better than I am. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Shooting a bow is just, like you said earlier, it's therapeutic. It's just so relaxing.
Oh, 100%.
You're hunting. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
What are you looking for? So you're hunting primarily public land, correct?
Yep. I hunt all public land.
What are you looking for? Do you do a lot of e-scouting?
No, not a whole lot. So I do have the Onyx app and everything like that, but I mostly use that for property lines.
Mhm.
I'm a boots on the ground type of guy. I'll get down there and just spend the entire day walking the property, get lost, follow the trails, just seeing what's out there. Where I'm hunting now, I've actually found some really decent sheds this year, and sheds from this year and earlier, or later past years. So that tells me right there, okay, well, nobody hunts this area because these sheds are just laying right out in the open. So, and yeah, I'll just go out. What I really like to do is in the winter, after season, follow the game trails, see where they're going. I walk around and, dude, I'm a nerd, so I'll have like an actual paper map like an MGRS, like the military grid map I had made up, and I'll plot, like an 8-digit grid on, okay, well, I'm going to check this area out. Or I'll read the topo maps. I'm like, okay, well, I think this might be a decent area. Then I just go out there and boots on the ground and check it out.
What are you looking for when you're doing the boots to the ground? What are you looking for the most? What's going to catch your eye? Like, ooh, this is something that I like.
Food source. So I'm going to look for food sources, water, movement routes. Okay, well, is this a really heavily active trail? Are they always in here? If I'm walking in there in the off season, do I jump any? Like where I'm hunting now, I walked in turkey hunting last weekend and jumped up 4 does right off the bat. I was like, all right, this is a promising area. Then after the turkey hunt, you just scout around and like, all right, this is looking decent. So I'll find some old rubs and try to pattern them out, see where they're going, see if there's any newer rubs versus the old rubs, see what's around. I'll hunt terrain a lot. So I'll figure out what, wind direction and stuff like that, what's surrounding that area, and figure out where to put my stands for that.
When you find these areas, how are you setting up on them? Have you found yourself setting up more closer to bedding areas or the food sources? How are you positioning yourself for these to get the most impactful kill?
Usually in the bedding areas. So there's a couple spots where I hunt that, if I really need to go out and find, shoot a doe, I have some bedding areas that are just renowned for that. They're always there. If I'm looking for the bigger bucks, I'll move in, further in and hunt near a food source. That's typically what I'll do. Early season, I'm always hunting usually on the beds.
Have you caught yourself hunting more the evenings, the mornings, the afternoons? How are you doing that?
I love hunting mornings. I don't really have a lot of success in the mornings, but I love it. Usually in the mornings, if I'm hunting in the wrong spot, I'll know because I'll see all the deer around me, off in the distance, and then I can adjust from that. But evening is where I have the most luck.
I love evening hunts the most, and I'm not gonna lie, getting up in the mornings, it's a tough one, man. But
Oh, dude, yeah.
I do love getting up in the mornings and watching everything wake up along with me. And the only times I'll really hunt the mornings is certain times of the year, and it's more closer to the rut. I like the most when it's for the mornings. The conditions have to be just right. Like if it was like a huge downpour the night before, and I know the morning it's dying off, oh, I'm going out in the morning, man.
Oh, for sure. Now, October 1st, I'm in the woods all day. I'm in sun up to sundown.
Yeah, same here. It's become
Yep.
a tradition where I go October 1st. I'm sitting in that tree stand as soon as that sun wakes up and the sun goes down. My wife knows it,
Exactly.
so I
Yep,
can't get in
same
trouble
here.
on that day. It's holiday day for me.
Exactly. I went from November 15th, taking the time off of school, to now it's October 1st. And yeah, sun up, sundown. Like last year, opening day, I had 4 doe underneath my tree, like eating right before. And at the time I was hunting probably 25 yards off of a main road here in town.
Hmm.
And as soon as the sun, I had 4 does eating all the acorns underneath me. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a quick trip. Dude, that sun came up and they were gone. And I've never seen them again.
Since I'm going to do my best to ask questions like I don't know what's going on in Michigan.
Yeah.
But have you run into situations, because I've said this before on other episodes, where I've seen like this, like last year, I've seen about 5 to 6 world-class bucks in my property. Next thing I know, they just vanish like ghosts, and no one's seen them. I asked them at the end of the year, at the end of the month, and like, did you see this buck? And they're like, no, I haven't seen them. I'm like, oh man, a whole month goes by and no one's seen any of these deer. It's just
Dude,
weird.
yeah.
So the point of that is, have you run into those situations there in Michigan?
I have. So I was hunting state land and I had been getting this one buck on my trail camera. And it was just this nothing fancy, man. It's a little 6-point, and I was like, man, I'm gonna get that dude. Like, this big body deer, small rack. I'm gonna get this dude. And so I'm waiting, and I just happened to look, and this giant 12 came out, and he had like a 6-inch drop tine. And this dude's like he's probably 20 yards away. He's walking down, and I was like, oh man, he's coming right in front of my stand. And he comes right in front of my stand and just sits. And there's this giant oak tree like covering his vitals. I'm like, man, as soon as this dude takes one step, I'm gonna drop him. Well, he takes a step and just walks off, like walks straight past. Never seen him again. About 10 minutes later, that little buck came out. I'm like, man, no, I'm gonna let you walk. I'm gonna focus on this deer. Dude, I didn't see him at all. Like, not trail cameras, nothing. And then the next year I saw him. He came back on my trail camera. I was like, dude, where did you go? And it's like, you're happy that no one shot him, because state land. I mean, anyone could have got him, could have got hit by a car or whatever. But then you see him, and then you're like, okay, he's back on the hit list. I'm gonna go after this dude.
I remember this one time, this one buck, I shot him. He was an 8-pointer. At the time, he was probably, for score wise, 90, 100, maybe in that ballpark. Shot him, tracked him, couldn't find him. So I was like, man, I must have just clipped underneath his stomach. Anyways, that year, I shot him kind of mid-October season. Rest of the year goes by, never seen him again. No one saw photos of him at all. Then the year after that comes around. No one's seen this deer at all, because we always share photos with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Like asking, all right, have you seen any specific deer? Like, nope, nothing of quote unquote noteworthy. And I was like, all right, neither have I. Then 2 years later, after I shot him, I look going through game camera photos, and I see this one doe. She's like eating, and then she looks up and looks right over in this one direction. I'm like, all right, something's gonna be coming. So I scroll to the next video. A deer comes walking. I'm like, oh, that's a giant buck. I'm looking closer. It's that deer that I named him Toretto.
Nice.
He grew up like a monster. He never got past out his ears, but he just went from here to freaking giant, tall length. And I was like, where did you go? How come?
Yeah.
I want to know. Where did you go this entire time? And no one shot you. You were in the area, obviously. So you came back around, and it was like, man, I want to know sometimes, like, where these deer just generally go.
Oh, dude,
what are they doing on a day-to-day basis? And I mean, yeah, there's tracking devices out there, but it's like the deer that my property, it's like, what are you doing? Where are you going? I want to know these things. It's like a weird tick in me. It's like, I need to know this information.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because you're like, okay, how come I've never seen you? Like, I've covered this property on foot from corner to corner. There's nowhere you can hide. And then all of a sudden, like you said, 2 years later, they'll just pop back up.
It's weird. Deer are weird, man. And Outdoors and More with Squatch, he made a comment here. He says, big mature bucks travel on an average between 10 to 20 miles when breeding season is.
Man.
Well, then, if that's in the breeding season, that when I shot this deer, when I was watching those deer travel, I was getting photos of them all the way up till October 1st. And then after that, they were just gone. So
it's like they have their own calendar or something, you know?
Yeah. If you're Outdoors and More, do you know how far they're traveling when it's not breeding season? I'm kind of curious to know that, because I know they got core areas in their home range area and stuff like that. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I know when you lock down that core area, it's kind of a big thing. And I swear, this one deer that I named Geronimo, I thought I was in his core area. I had everything he wanted. I've said this before, my property it doesn't have a lot of food. We have one kind of food plot, but it's just like everyone else in the whole surrounding area of our property. So nothing, it's like, ooh, I got to have the deer come here. But what we offer is a lot of cover, a lot of bedding. So it's like amazing stuff for that point of it. It's like, all right, he's got to be coming through here. And next thing I know, nope, I'm not seeing him at all. And I was pissed.
Oh yeah. And when you finally think I got this deer figured out, he has to come through here, and then you never see him again. And you're just like, well, what the hell? Like, what did I miss?
I did want to ask, because your fellow serviceman, when you, with that mentality of you're never out of the fight and you never quit mentality, how do you use those moments, especially in archery, and how do you use those moments of quote unquote failure, or those moments where you're just down and mentally just feel like, man, I'm not doing anything right and this and that? How do you, what would you tell someone that's not in our world to use that as an advantage and not as a downfall?
Like, you learn best from your worst leaders, right? So whenever I would make a mistake or feel down, I'm like, man, I've done everything right. Why am I not seeing the deer, or why am I not after this buck? You just take a break, look up, all right, well, what am I doing? All right, I'm doing this, this, and this. What can I be doing it differently? I'm e-scouting. I'm walking around. I see this deer coming this way. Just take a break and just readdress what you're doing. So if I'm hunting a specific area and I've seen deer before, now I'm out there and there's nothing, well, what else is going on? Maybe there's something else in that area causing the deer to move. Maybe there's a different food source. Just adapt and overcome. Don't beat yourself up. It's hunting. It's not killing. So if you have to adjust your plan, do that. Just don't beat yourself up. Don't give up. I mean, I took my daughter out hunting. She was, I think, 4 when I took her out hunting for a youth hunt, and we shot a buck. And I mean, it was like within the first few minutes. Well, the next year we didn't see anything. Next 2 years we didn't see anything for the youth hunt. And she's all down, and I was like, well, why aren't we seeing them? Well, let's change up our plan. Let's change how we're doing this, and then you start seeing more. But just don't beat yourself up, and if it's not working, try something different. I mean, try anything different.
I remember when I was new in archery and hunting, there's a lot of times where I just felt like I'd go like there was a good stint of my hunting life where 2 to 3 years, I didn't see a deer, not a doe, not a yearling, not a fawn, nothing. So I was like, so for the first year, I'm like, all right, this sucks. It's hunting. All right, I'll get used to it. Then the second year comes running around. I don't see shit. I'm like, I suck at hunting. I'm going to quit and this and that. And then the third year comes around. It's like, what the heck, man? Hunting, I came to hunt to see some deer and shoot some deer. And next time I'm not seeing anything. But then at that moment, I realized maybe I'm not in the right area. So I use that as a motivator of reading more, learning my land more, learning the property better, and using that as a motivator of I'm not going through this again. This sucks, but I'm going to use it to motivate me to be better.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, I've heard it on your podcast before, where the youth now, the kids will jump on YouTube and watch these videos of, like the shorts. They're watching all these dudes just slaying giant bucks. I mean, like 200-inch bucks. They're like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. And they go out, and the first sit, they don't see anything. They just give it up. It's like, well, what are we doing wrong, right? What I love about the hunting community, man, especially, I'm brand new to like Instagram and all that, but I can hop on and just shoot a question out. Hey, why am I not seeing deer? Why am I not seeing turkey? This is what I'm doing. What's jacked up about it? Then you have people, oh, well, you should try this. This works for me. This doesn't work for me, but it might work for you. Just the community, that we're a part of. Everyone just wants to help each other out for sure.
Exactly. And you said it perfectly. I don't like kids watching these TikTok videos. I swear, to me, I hate it. And when I was growing up, TikTok wasn't a thing. Shorts really weren't a big thing. Reels weren't at all. So when I'm watching growing up as a kid, I'm watching these on TV of like the Lee Lakowski and all of them slinging these deer, and they're just doing it on a regular basis. And I use that. I was like, man, well, how are they doing it and why can't I do it? And then I feel like that nowadays with these kids, with watching these TikToks and these short 15 to 30-second reels, they're getting that they might possibly go out hunting, and then they see these other ones doing it and they get discouraged. And especially with this now day and age of these kids, in my opinion, they're soft. So they're gonna give up quickly. And that's why I feel like another reason why hunting is dying with the youth. So you're not going to see us doing a lot of. I do feel like there can be some advantages to the shorts and reels. I had a guest on a couple last week, I think it was Josh, that pointed out, well, you can also show the downfalls. That's great. And I do believe, I think that's a great idea. But I think sometimes they might accidentally get too more involved of, well, I don't care how you fail. I want to see you succeed. And look, you shoot these giant bucks. Awesome. Great. And then they try it and they quit.
Yeah. And that's the thing, not every hunter is going to go out there and shoot that 190, 200 class deer, where you see these videos and these shorts of people just like stacking them up. Dude, my best deer I ever shot was a 6 or 7 point at like almost 50 yards. That's my most memorable deer. I love that. And everything worked out perfect. Dude, it's not, maybe like 70, 80 storable inch. Super small. But dude, the story behind it's awesome. And like my buddy always told me, he's like, dude, it doesn't matter how long you boil those antlers for. You're not going to be able to eat them.
Yeah.
And I'm more worried about keeping them, meat in the fridge for sure.
You mentioned earlier though that the hunting community is it's amazing. We're always willing to help each other out, and there are some quote unquote bad apples where it's like they question you and doubt you and this and that. But for the most part, 99% of all hunters, if like for instance, you and I met online, next thing you know, we're freaking friends and we're talking this and that, and now you're coming on the show. Someone you just barely met, you can trust them as a hunter if you just met them as another hunter. The camaraderie as we have as a whole it's just so amazing. You can't beat what we have in the hunting community. It's the top-notch empire of everything.
Absolutely. It's a strong brotherhood. I mean, you meet a fellow hunter in the woods. Like I hunt state land, right? I don't know how many times I've been walking, I'll come across another hunter and they'll be like, hey, you see any deer? I'm like, yeah, actually they're right over here. Or, give them tips, or, hey, you should really check out this area over here. And I mean, you don't see that in life anymore. Someone just, like some random guy I met in the woods. Yeah, I'm going to help him out. I mean, you don't see that anymore.
It's sad, but it's still breathing in us in the hunters. We're always, like you said, we're always willing to help each other out, help each other when we're down, no matter what. We're always willing to learn. And I think once as humans or hunters in general, you feel like you think you know everything. You don't. You're gonna meet someone that's like my dad always said, when you think you're the top dog, there's always gonna be another top dog out there.
Absolutely.
So you better make sure that you're doing the best to be that one. But I do want to kind of ask a couple of questions because we're getting close to tiering the show. Yeah. What's it like to hunt there in Michigan? What if someone's going to come out of state and hunt in Michigan? What's it like to hunt there? What's something that they should know?
It's pressured here. So where I hunt state land, there's a lot of people out there. You really got to go into it. So I'm hunting about a mile into the state land. During gun season, they're everywhere. Bow season, not so bad. But I mean, here in Michigan, we have pretty good deer, pretty big bodies, pretty big rack, but you're not going to see them all the time. If you're going to come up here and hunt, just do your research, scout out the area. But I was watching the Hunting Public, and they do it great. Just drive around, do a little recon by the road, as you could say. But yeah, just don't expect to walk into the woods and drag a deer out same day here if you've never hunted here before.
Yeah, Michigan, it's a tough world, man. And like you said, we don't grow Iowa-sized deer all the time. You're gonna see them once in a blue moon, and those 200-inch plus deer, in my opinion, those are fucking unicorns here in Michigan.
Oh, dude, for
You're
sure.
definitely not gonna see it up in the UP, and you're definitely because so Michigan's broken down for anyone that's listening. Michigan's broken into 3 zones. The UP is zone 1, and basically Mackinac Bridge down to I'd say maybe Grand Rapids. If you drew a line from Grand Rapids all the way across the state, that's zone 2, and anything below that, zone 3. Zone 1, you're looking at not a huge. If we're talking about class wise, you're not going to see probably the biggest in my opinion you might see is a 120.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that, a 120.
Yeah, in zone 2, the bridge down to Grand Rapids area, you can probably see a good probably 140, 150. They're going to be rare. They're going to be in those deep pockets of the woods, but you can find them if you really do the research. Zone 3, where I'm in the zone at, that's where you're going to see more of those. You're going to see them more often of those 140s, 150,
Yep.
and you can see those more often because we have more of the ag down here in the southern part of Michigan. You get up past in the zone 2, like I said, that's deep timber, the deep pine trees. Up in zone 1, up in the UP, that's just fucking swampy area.
Now,
It's secluded and
not to mention
wolves
up in the
there.
UP, the wolves, man, they've destroyed it up there.
Yes.
I mean, the UP, that used to be like the mecca for whitetail hunting, man. I mean, Escanaba in the Moonlight. You ever seen that movie?
Oh man, that's
Dude.
Canava, man. I grew up there.
Oh, I love that area, man. I was up there last summer, but I mean, there used to be so many deer up there and beautiful bucks, but we put the wolves up there, dude, and they just destroyed so many deer.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think I had the fall podcast on, and they were talking about wolf hunting and voting, and he made a great point. He's like, "Why are people from Detroit voting on what it should be voted like to hunt up in the UP? It doesn't affect them at all."
no, 100%. So, and what was it? I want to say it was 2015. Michigan had their very first and only wolf season, and it coincided with gun season, so no one hunted wolves. Everyone was all whitetail hunting. I only think there's like 100 wolves taken during that season. But I have a buddy that lives up in Crystal Falls, and I was up there over the summer. We'd see, I think on the way out, we seen 2 wolves, and one was dragging a deer. And you're just like, man, they just ruin everything. Not to mention the moose up there, and the wolves kill the moose all the time.
So wait, Crystal Falls?
Yep.
I know exactly where that's at. I grew up.
Yep.
We can talk about that off there, but yeah, when I say I grew up there, I mean when I have grandparents that live up in the UP. So when I was growing up as a kid in the summer vacation months, I always went up to the UP.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I grew up in those parts of the world.
Oh, very nice,
miss it, man.
Dude, I hopefully this year I get my bear tag for up there, so we'll see.
That's another question I want to ask. Bear hunting. I haven't done it. It's something I've always wanted to do and to get my first bear in Michigan. Obviously, I want to do up in the UP because it's going to be very emotional for me because, like I said,
yeah.
Have you been bear hunted before in Michigan or no?
Never have. So I've been putting in for it every year. Last year I actually got drawn for it, but with work and everything I couldn't go, so I donated my tag, and the DNR actually gave me all my points back, which was awesome. Yeah. So
is that kind of like a normal thing, or is that just like
it's a once in a lifetime thing? So you can do it once in your life. You can donate a tag and get all your points back. So I donated them, got all my points back, and I'm actually hunting, or hopefully hunting up near Crystal Falls this year if I can get my license or my tag.
And what's it like to do the draw? What's it like to do that? How many points do you generally need?
So I kind of cheated. Up in the UP, it's a lot easier to get drawn. You're usually looking at between 3 and 5 points. So every year you put in for a bear tag or elk here as well. Every year that you don't get drawn, you get a point. You can also just apply 4 points. So usually, like you were talking zone 2, right? To get into a decent bear hunting in zone 2, you're looking at probably 10 points or so. So 10 years of applying, unless you get lucky. But up in the UP, I mean, the county I'm trying to hunt in Iron, I want to say last year they had the record for 500-pound plus bears, like harvested up there. And it's like nobody applies for it. I think so they have the 2 early seasons and the late season for bear. And I want to say it's like I'm trying to hunt Iron County, and there's like 600 tags that need to be filled. So I'm like, well, hell, why not hunt that? I mean, it's a lot harder, but I mean, there's big bear up there for sure.
How old was I? I want to say 12. I think I was 12 years old, and we were driving up to the UP, and my parents were like, all right, we're going to stop off at this elk observation area. I asked them, like, we're in Michigan. Why the fuck are we going to stop at an elk? We're going to look at in a museum or some shit. And they're like, no, they got this place where you can see elk. I mean, they have elk here in Michigan, and you can hunt them. I said, excuse my French, I don't care. I was like, bullshit. We don't have elk in Michigan. They are out west in Colorado area. Next thing I know, we're stopping at this area and we're watching elk. And I was like, what? And my dad's like, yeah, you can hunt elk in Michigan. I was like, it blew my mind at that young of an age because I didn't know it at the time. But I was like, that's just Michigan has everything to offer, man.
Dude, and a lot of people don't realize that. I mean, we got go across the bridge to the UP, there's moose. You go to the south of the bridge, there's elk. I mean, like Grayling area, there's so many elk, man, and people don't realize it. And we were up 4-wheeling in the UP over the summer last year and ran into moose. Dude, moose are huge compared to even elk.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think of them in our own state right here. Because like you said, you think of moose hunting, you're like, oh, I'm going to go to Maine.
Yep. Or
elk hunting, I'm going to go out to Colorado, you know. But yeah, right in our own backyard, man.
I don't know. It's just weird. I don't think I've ever seen a moose up in the UP. I mean, I heard stories from my grandpa and my grandma. Like, yeah, we just saw a moose a week ago. I was like, dang it, where was I a week ago?
Right.
What are some other things for out of resident hunters that want to come to Michigan? What are some other things that they might need to know? Let's talk about archery, since that's a big forte. When it comes to archery, what is something for non-residents that they should know, or like kind of be a heads up about?
You're not going to be making far shots. So, like if you're hunting in the hardwoods or state land like I do, you know, the 5 and 7 pin sights, you don't really need those. I use a 3-pin sight, and that's pretty much all you're going to need. A far shot out here in the woods is probably going to be 20 yards. That and something I learned by trial and error is deer up here will drop. So what I mean by that is as you're pulling back and you're getting ready to shoot, as soon as that arrow's released, that deer's going to drop. And dude, I've missed deer because of that. And I've also smoked deer because of that too. I'll take a bad shot and turn it good. But yeah, it's a different class up here, man. The whitetail up here are completely different. Like I've hunted Kansas where my brother lives, and 2 different whitetail. I mean, I've heard it on your podcast before. They're both whitetails, but just completely different, man.
Yeah, I think for people that they should think when they think of Michigan, a 2-year-old deer, the saying goes on a lot of areas, but I think it's really I think Michigan started it, in my opinion. Of if it's brown, it's down. I mean, deer
yeah.
at 2 years old, they're acting like 5, 6-year-old deer because they're mature. So they need to like, all right, I gotta live. Bill, he just died a week ago and he wasn't a year old. And
Exactly. Yeah.
you go to Illinois, and that's kind of they're acting like that age. So you can't kind of compare the two. But so Michigan deer, like you said, they act at a different level, and they're smart, man. And I've said this
Dude.
before. I've only shot bucks. I don't get me wrong. I just haven't shot a doe. I'm not
Yeah.
against shooting a doe. I just never shot a doe. I've shot 2 of them, never found them though. But it's
Dude,
just
they're
the doe here, like I said before in other episodes, they are freaking Einsteins, man.
dude, they will spot you so quick. I mean,
They're
I
like
don't know
6
how many
miles away.
times
They're like looking at you like, I see you. I see
they'll
you up
start
there in that
stomping and
stand.
oh yeah, dude. They'll blow you real fast. And you're like, oh, well shit, I'm not gonna see anything today. Might as well just pack it up and go home.
Exactly. Every time I've seen a doe blow at me, I was like, all right, I want to kill you now. Other than that, I'm like, if I can't, I'm like, there goes that hunt. I'm screwed. I'm done.
Exactly. And I mean, we have so many deer here anyways. Like if I have a chance to shoot a doe, oh totally. 100%. Not only does it, help out the population here because they're freaking everywhere. But once you get that doe out of the way or your first deer out of the way, you're like, all right, now I got some meat in the freezer. Now I can not focus so much on just freezer food, but I can actually go out there and look for that buck or be more selective on what you want to shoot.
Right. You got that monkey off your back per se. And
Dude, yeah.
I remember this one time I shot this. I had this young buck come in. I was still young, so he didn't score anything major. I had these 2 does in front of me, and this buck comes running in after them. All right, I'm after the buck. That's all I see. Shoot him. He runs 40 yards and dies right in front of me. And I see these 2 does. They just stand there and looking at him like, what just happened? So I look down. I'm like, oh crap, they're still there. So I quickly reloaded an arrow and I shot her. I was like, oh yeah, I got another deer. Tonight's awesome. All right. I watched her run away. And then I go tell my dad, all right, yeah, I got 2 deer. He's like, oh man, you're always better than me. Blah, 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 blah. Get the deer, get the buck, bagged him. All right, let's go check the doe. We went for fucking miles. Never found her.
Yeah.
They're
Dude.
resilient. No, they're not just smart, but they are tough. And
Dude, they are.
deer in general are tough, but the does, man. I don't know what it is about Michigan does, but they are on a whole another fucking level, man.
Dude, they are. They are. So, like, last year I took my daughter out hunting, and she's sitting there, and I was like, "Now listen, your first deer you get, I'm getting it mounted." She's like, "Well, what if it's a doe? What if it doesn't have horns?" I'm like, "Then I'm definitely getting it mounted. Because if you didn't smoke a good mature doe, oh, that's definitely going up on the wall."
Well, John, we're getting closer to the end of the show. Is there a story or a topic that you didn't get to share or that we didn't get to cover tonight?
Yeah. So here in Michigan, man, we're blessed with such amazing deer, right? But we're also blessed with such amazing people and other hunters and stuff. So every year I try to do as many like wounded warrior hunts or purple heart hunts. And I did this purple heart hunt over it's the deer that you got on the cover of the podcast there. Dude, it ended up scoring about a 188, and that was all put on through a purple heart hunt. Dude, 13 yards right as the sun's coming up, that deer came out. Dude, I don't care. Like, from now on, the target panic's not going to be nearly as bad. Because, dude, I was shaking so bad when that thing came out. Just like, whoa. Like, yeah. So, got that dude. And, now it's like I see a buck and it's like, man, that's a nice looking deer. It's not ever going to compare to that one. But no, shooting a trophy like that versus a doe coming out. I mean, you get that deer in in your bow sight, dude, it doesn't matter who you are, man. You're shaking, that heart's just going, and just the joy and the excitement that you have, man, for sure.
It's the best adrenaline rush, and I've said this before. Archery hunting and hunting in general, it's the best, healthiest version of crack. Once you do it once, you're just addicted, man. You can't put it down. Like my buddy Dan, he's on the team here, and he was a huge fisherman, okay? And I told him about hunting, and I was like, "Dude, once you pick up a bow, you're never gonna wanna put it down. It's
Dude,
expensive, but
yeah.
you're gonna love it." Next thing you know, he's going into his 3rd year hunting, and he goes, "Brett, you're right. I'm spending all this money into stuff, but I just can't put down the bow. I wanna get out hunting more."
Oh, dude, for sure. And like, so I took my cousin out hunting. First time he's ever been out hunting, right? He wanted to bow hunt a turkey. I'm like, dude, yeah, 100% sure. Let's go. And, I mean, dude, the mosquitoes were bad. New hunter, he didn't last very long out there. But dude, he got out. He had fun. But to see him, because he lives in the city, to see him come out there and you're calling in those toms and they start gobbling, someone who doesn't hunt, who hears that for the first time, they're like, well, wait a minute, a turkey really does that? That's like first time you hear, you hear a buck snort. You're like, whoa, dude, they really do that. Like, this is awesome. So like, yeah, I just love that, especially getting new hunters out there, man. Getting them addicted to that. You gotta love it, man.
Especially, I love hearing those deer, as much as I hate it at the same time. Those bucks just go. I'm like, "Son of a bitch."
Oh,
But
I
just to
know.
hear that noise, it's like, "Ooh, I see it. There's a deer around me." And just being out in the woods and seeing the deer, that's what I enjoy the most. And like I said, hearing that noise, it's awesome. I love it. But on the backside of it, I'm like, "I fucking hate you. I want you to you're gonna screw everything
Dude,
up, you son of a bitch. You're gonna kill you somehow." But
it, it gives you that motivation to go back out there and get them.
exactly. And it's just the best feeling in the world. I can't say this enough. If you've never been out hunting, get out in the woods. And one thing here in Michigan, I think to be pointed out here is, excuse me, is we offer apprenticeship. So you can, if you are trying to test out hunting, you are allowed to go hunt with somebody that has their hunter certificate, and you don't have to spend the money on. And now I have to check that again, but
No, you're right. You're right.
yeah,
You know what?
you don't need to have a hunter's certificate to go out hunting. As long as you are with somebody that has it, you can kind of quote unquote test the waters in the apprenticeship, and you might end up liking it. So that's one thing I think Michigan's doing well. I don't know of a lot of states that do it. They might do it, I just unaware of it. But I think that's one great thing that Michigan's doing is to help get people into hunting.
Oh, absolutely. And the best part is it's not even for just the youth. I mean, you could be 40 years old and never hunted before and want to give it a try. And you can
Correct.
get the apprentice license. I mean, the same license that I use for my daughter, 40, 50-year-old man can draw it and get if he's never hunted before.
Yeah.
But, dude, I'm warning you, man. Once you go out bow hunting, it's addictive. It really is.
It's one now here in Michigan, it's what Michigan's known for is the Orange Army, the deer
Oh, yeah.
camp, the November 15th, and everyone's taking that day and that week off. But you pick up a bow, man. I'm just
Yeah.
telling you, I can't say it enough. And John here agreeing with me as well. Pick up a bow.
The number one seller I use for bow hunting is it's better weather, man. You're not sitting out there in the snow on October 1st when our bow season starts. Beautiful weather, man. You get to see the fall colors change. You sit up in the tree and it's green. A couple weeks later, it's all falling off, and it's just so much nicer, man.
Except for the first day, though. I'm not gonna lie. The last couple years, it's like 90
Dude.
or 100 degrees, and I'm sweating up my balls off in the tree. I'm like,
Oh,
I
man.
just need a fan. Sometimes I bring in one of those mini fans. I don't care if I scare the deer away or not. I'm
Oh,
hot,
yeah.
man. I'm trying to keep those little bugs away.
Dude, and then what's nice is afterwards when you're walking home and you didn't kill anything, you're like, well, at least I didn't kill anything because, man, it's so hot. I don't want to drag a deer out in this 90-degree heat.
Right.
just
And then you gotta worry
start
about stuffing it.
Exactly. Trying to convince yourself that, I'm glad I didn't kill one. Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. I've caught myself doing it. It's like, all right, I'm happy I didn't. So then I have to go trampling through the woods, trying to track it, going up and down hills, going through all these brushes, sweating more off. And yeah, I'm happy with today's hunt. I'm pretty comfortable with it. Try and reason with yourself.
Exactly. Then you go home and have a beer and do it all over again the next day.
Exactly. I remember there's a lot of times where last year I was telling my wife, I was like, yeah, I saw this 8-pointer today, but I let him walk. I saw this 9-pointer, let him walk. And she's like, Brett, I swear, you come home one more time saying you let this deer walk, I'm going to shoot you myself. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't want that deer. And she's like, I don't care. I want meat. You put meat in this freezer already. So I got nervous because I'm like, I gotta get a deer, man. So next thing I know, 2 weeks go by and she's getting mad at me. She's like, "Did you see a deer?" I'm like, "No, I didn't see a deer at all." Nope, didn't see a deer at all.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Well, John, any lasting things that you want to say here before I let you go for the rest of the night, brother?
No, man. That's pretty much it. I just want to say
John,
thanks for what you do, man. This is an awesome show. I'm
thanks,
glad I could be a part of it.
Oh yeah, anyone's welcome. You're always welcome to come on the show whenever you want to. It's an open door policy here, so anyone's always welcome to come on the show. I'm never going to tell anybody no. So, John, with that being said, thanks, brother, for your service. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come on the show. Very much appreciated, brother. And obviously, we're going to be talking a lot, man.
Oh, absolutely. We'll have to go out and shoot sometime, man.
Oh, for sure, man. We live really close now. Come to find out about it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're ever free a weekend, we'll just sling some arrows, man, for sure.
Oh, definitely, man. All right, man. I'll have a good night, brother.
All right, brother. You do the same, man.
All right. See ya.
Later.
Oh, man. Loved having John on the show right there. Yeah, we come to find out he's a part of the Gilly Puck Pro staff as well as myself. And we met on there as well. And great show, guys. Hey, thanks to Outdoors and More with the Squatch. Very much appreciated. Yeah, John and I, we met through Gilly Puck. We didn't talk about that, how we met. But yeah, that's how we met and got a number. And we've become friends now. Excuse me, I got a little cough in my throat. Anyways, that will conclude tonight's show. Thanks, John, for coming on the show. Very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone out there that's watching the show and listening and supporting the show. Going into tonight, we were 1 subscriber away to reach 100. Hopefully we get there soon. So all I ask is to put your quarter in the slot machine, help share the show, help us get one new friend, help spread the word of hunting. I do ask, though, if you can, go make sure to check us out at whitetail.com. Check out our website. We are always updating stuff. Next week, we're going to be announcing our guests for the rest of the week. And I do say, though, if you are on the website and it does say ask the audience, that's us saying we don't have a guest scheduled for that day as of the moment. And it's us opening the door for you guys. Like I said, we have an open door here. Whoever wants to come on the show, you don't have to be from the state that we're covering. If we're covering Montana and you're from Louisiana and you want to come on the show, anyone's welcome to come on the show. So open door policy here. Make sure to go check out a Gilly Puck and get 10% discount. 10% off the products when you use the code GP10. Make sure to go to MAGNUSBroadheads.com, check out their products as well. With that being said, real quick, we do have an announcement coming up. Like I said, I know I've been saying this for a while now. I swear, I promise. We are so close to announcing what we got coming up. So with that being said, we're going to close out for tonight. Everyone out there that's listening, have a great Memorial weekend. Thank everyone out there for your service. Back to Men in Blue. That being said, we're going to close out tonight's show. Thanks, everyone, and have a good rest of the night.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.